Imagine you're at the grocery store, and you see a parent desperately trying to get their 6-year-old to stop running down the aisles. The parent is shouting, "Stop it right now. Do you hear me? I said stop," but their voice is ignored. A few minutes later, the child starts throwing candy into the cart, and the parent sighs, rolls their eyes, and says, "Fine, just one, but then we're leaving." Most people watching this think the problem is a lack of discipline or that the child is just acting out. But what if I told you that in that exact moment, the parent was actually teaching the child how to be disrespectful? It sounds counterintuitive, right? We think we're being patient or flexible, but there is one specific mistake, a single, massive error in communication, that is responsible for more behavioral issues than almost anything else in the world of parenting. Today we are going deep into the heart of modern child psychology to reveal the #1 mistake that teaches children to be subconscious masters of disrespect. We're going to explore how we accidentally train our kids to ignore us, the science of why negotiating backfires, and the simple shift in your own behavior that will return respect to your household almost instantly. To understand this mistake, we have to look at how a child's brain actually processes information. From the moment they are born, children are like little scientists. They are constantly running experiments to see how the world works. They push a button to see if it makes a sound. They drop a toy to see if it falls. As they get older, they move their experiments into the social realm. They are testing the boundaries of authority to see where the solid ground is. This is where the #1 mistake happens, the failure to mean what you say the first time. Scientists call this conditional compliance, but in plain English, it's the warning action cycle. When you tell a child to put their shoes on, and they don't move, and you say it 5 more times, each time getting slightly louder, you aren't teaching them to listen. You are teaching them that your first 5 requests are optional. You are training them to wait for the yelling voices before they take you seriously. This creates a fundamental lack of respect, because in a child's mind, respect is tied to consistency. If your words are inconsistent, they lose their value. Imagine if you went to work and your boss told you a deadline was Tuesday, but when Tuesday came and you hadn't done the work, they just said, "Okay, but really try for Friday." And then Friday came and they said, "Please, I'm serious this time, next Monday." You would think their word means nothing, and you would start to ignore their deadlines. This is exactly what we do to our children. We think we're being gentle by giving them 6 warnings, but we are actually being deceptive. We are promising a boundary that doesn't exist, and children find that instability incredibly stressful. They act out because they are desperately looking for the real limit. The science behind this is rooted in intermittent reinforcement. This is the same psychological trigger that makes gambling so addictive. If you give in to a child's whining once out of every 10 times, you have just taught them that whining works. It doesn't matter that it failed 9 times. The one time it worked makes the behavior worth it in their brain. When we make the mistake of negotiating or being inconsistent with our no, we are essentially turning ourselves into a slot machine. The child will keep pulling the lever of disrespect, hoping that this is the time they hit the jackpot. Respect is not about being a tough guy or a dictator. It's about being a reliable source of truth. When no means no every single time, without an argument and without a negotiation, the child actually feels safer. They stop fighting because the boundary is as solid as a brick wall. But why do we do this? Why is this mistake so common? It's because modern parents are exhausted, frankly, afraid of conflict. We want our children to like us. We've been told that authoritarian parenting is wrong, which it is, but we've swung too far in the other direction into permissive parenting. We mistake boundaries for being mean. This is the true origin of the disrespect crisis. We treat our children like mini adults who should be able to reason with us, but a child's prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic and impulse control, won't be fully developed until they are in their 20s. When you try to negotiate with a 3-year-old about why they shouldn't hit their brother, you are talking to a brain that isn't equipped to process that logic yet. They don't need an explanation. They need a leader. Another huge part of this mistake is the emotional leak. When we get frustrated and start to yell or plead, we are showing the child that they have the power to control our emotions. Children want to feel that their parents are powerful and stable. If a small child can make a grown adult lose their cool, it's terrifying for the child. They think, If I can break my mom or dad just by not putting my shoes on, who is going to protect me when something really bad happens? They are trying to find someone who is in charge, because being in charge of their parents is a burden they aren't meant to carry. Maintaining a calm, boring tone even when your child is melting down is the ultimate display of respect-worthy authority. We also have to talk about the negotiation trap. This is when you say, "Fine, you can have 5 more minutes on the iPad," but then you have to turn it off. The child has just learned that your original boundary was a lie. They've learned that disrespecting the first limit leads to a better deal. It is a masterclass in social engineering for the child. To fix this, you have to move from negotiation to notification. You don't ask, "Can you please clean up now?" You notify it is time to clean up. And then, and this is the hard part, you ensure it happens without a second, third, or fourth warning. If they don't move, you walk over, take their hand and help them do it. You don't yell, you don't lecture, you just provide the physical reality of the boundary. Wait, does this mean you can't be a fun parent? Absolutely not. In fact, when children respect the boundaries, the fun times become much more frequent because the parent isn't constantly in a state of irritation or nagging mode. Disrespectful behavior is a drain on the energy of the entire household. By cutting out the warnings and the negotiations, you are reclaiming hours of your day. You are creating a calm tech environment where everyone knows the rules. This leads to a much deeper and more authentic connection between parent and child. Respect is the foundation that allows love to be expressed without all the static of constant power struggles. The discovery of the big mistake often happens when parents realize they are doing the counting to 3 thing. 1, 2, 2, 2.5. Don't make me get to 3. What happens at 3? Nothing, or something wildly inconsistent. If you use counting as a way to delay taking action, you are explicitly telling your child, "You don't have to listen to me for the next 2 numbers." You are giving them a grace period for disrespect. A much more effective strategy discovered by behavioral therapists is the 1-minute rule. You give a direction once. You wait 5 seconds for processing time. If they haven't started, you move in and assist. No counting, no threats, just the consistent follow-through. We also need to address the public embarrassment factor. This is a major trigger for the mistake. We are at a restaurant or a park, and our child starts acting out. Because we don't want to cause a scene, we give in to their demands. We let them have the extra cookie or stay longer on the slide. The child is a genius at recognizing this leverage. They learn that public disrespect equals results. To break this, you have to be willing to leave. You have to be the parent who picks up the kicking child and walks out of the restaurant, leaving the half-eaten meal behind. It's hard. It's embarrassing and it's inconvenient, but it is a one-time investment that pays dividends for years. It shows the child that your boundaries are portable. They don't change just because other people are watching. The true origin of the child's disrespect is often rooted in our own lack of self-respect for our words. If we don't value our own, no, why should they? When we say no and then change it to maybe, because we are tired, we are telling the child that we are an unreliable narrator. This leads to persistence training. The child thinks, maybe if I ask 50 more times, the no will change again. This is exhausting for everyone. To turn this around, you have to become the wall. A wall doesn't get angry. A wall doesn't lecture you for trying to walk through it. A wall just stands there. When you become the wall with your boundaries, the child eventually stops hitting their head against it and starts looking for other things to do, like being a helpful, respectful member of the family. Recent scientific discoveries in mirror neurons show that children literally reflect the emotional state of their parents. If you approach a situation with high-energy frustration, the child's brain will match that. If you approach with calm authority, they are much more likely to regulate themselves. Disrespect is often an overflow of unregulated emotion. By staying calm, you are providing the external regulator they need. You are teaching them how to handle frustration by showing them, not by telling them. This is the difference between do as I say and be as I am. Another common version of the mistake is the long-winded lecture. When a child is disrespectful, we often sit them down and explain for 20 minutes why their behavior was hurtful and how society works. We want them to understand. But in that moment, the child's brain is usually in a state of defensiveness or shutdown. They aren't listening to your words. They are listening to the fact that they have captured your attention for 20 minutes. For some children, negative attention is just as good as positive attention. The lecture becomes a reward for the disrespect. Use brief and boring consequences. Because you did X, Y is the result. We can try again tomorrow. End of story. We also have to talk about the empty threat. If you don't stop that, I'm throwing all your toys in the trash. We both know you aren't going to do that. The child knows it too. Every empty threat is a massive withdrawal from your Respect bank account. It tells the child that you are a bluffer. To rebuild that account, you have to only say things you are 100% willing and able to do. If you say we are leaving the park if you hit again, you must be ready to leave immediately, even if you just got there and you really wanted a walk. Your credibility is your only real power as a parent. Don't throw it away on threats you won't keep. The law of consistency is the only thing that actually settles a household. Imagine if the speed limit was 55 on Mondays, but whatever you want on Tuesdays, and maybe 70 inches on Wednesdays if the cop is in a good mood. You would have total chaos on the roads. People would be constantly testing the limit to see what they could get away with today. This is the state of many modern homes. The child is speeding because they don't know what the limit is today. When you provide a consistent, unwavering limit, the speeding stops. The child can finally relax and just be a kid, rather than constantly being a legal investigator of your moods. How do we fix the damage if we've been making this mistake for years? It starts with the new day conversation. You sit your kids down and say, I realized I haven't been very clear with my words lately. I've been giving too many warnings. And that's not fair to you. From now on, when I say something, I'm only going to say it once. If you don't listen, this is what the result will be. And then, and this is the vital part, you have to be perfectly consistent for the next 2 weeks. It will get worse before it gets better. This is called an extinction burst. The child will double down on the disrespect to see if the old you is still in there. They will push and push to see if they can break the new rule. If you hold firm through the burst, the behavior will drop off a cliff. You have successfully retrained the environment. A major discovery in social dynamics is the concept of the lead-follow relationship. In every group, someone is the leader. If the parent abdicates that role through inconsistency, the child will step into the void, by default. But a child isn't meant to lead. It makes them anxious, bossy, and you guessed it, disrespectful. When you take the lead back by being a person of your word, the child feels a massive sense of relief. They might fight it at first, but you'll see their shoulders drop and their overall anxiety decrease. They are no longer in charge of the adult world. They can go back to being a child. Another subtle mistake is comparing children. Why can't you be more like your sister? She always listens. This doesn't build respect. It builds resentment. It teaches the child that respect is a competition they've already lost. Instead, focus on the individual standard. Respect is a baseline requirement for everyone in the family, regardless of their personality. By delinking respect from comparisons, you make it an achievable goal for the child who struggles the most. Let's look at the technology trap. We often use screens as a bribe to get children to behave. If you're good in the store, you can play on my phone. This is the big mistake in a digital form. It teaches the child that respectful behavior is something you buy with rewards rather than a fundamental part of being a person. It also creates a, what's in it for me attitude. Real respect is intrinsic. It comes from a sense of belonging and a recognition of the parent's role. Move away from bribes and toward natural consequences. We clean up because we live here. We speak kindly because we are a family. Wait, don't confuse respect with fear. In the 1950s, many parents used fear to get compliance. That isn't respect, it's just survival. True respect is built on trust. The child trusts that when you say no, you mean it. And they trust that when you say yes, you mean that too. They trust that your boundaries are there to keep them safe, not to control them for the sake of power. This trust-based respect is much more durable than fear. It lasts into the teenage years and adulthood. It's the difference between a child who listens because you're in the room and a child who listens even when you're not. The validation mistake is also very common today. We want to validate our children's feelings so much that we accidentally validate their disrespect. I hate you. A parent might say, I hear that you're frustrated and that's okay. No, it's not okay to be abusive. You can validate the feeling while holding the line on the behavior. I see you're frustrated, but it is not okay to speak to me that way. When you can speak calmly, we can talk about it. But they don't give them a license to be disrespectful. It separates the internal state from the external action. Another huge factor is parental distraction. We often half listen to our children because we are on our own phones or busy with chores. When a child feels they have to be disrespectful just to be heard, they will do it. If you only look up from your phone when they scream or throw something, you are training them to scream and throw. Create connection points where you are fully present. It's much easier for a child to respect someone who actually sees them. A 10-minute special time every day where you follow the child's lead can reduce disrespect by 50% because the child no longer feels the need to fight for your gaze. We must also talk about the sarcastic parent. Sometimes we use sarcasm to deal with our children's behavior. Oh, sure, leave your socks there. I'm just the maid. Sarcasm is a form of passive-aggressive disrespect. If we use it toward our children, we are literally teaching them how to use it toward us. Children are the world's best mimes. They will copy your tone, your eye rolls, and your attitude. If you want a respectful child, you have to be a model of respect, even when they are being difficult. It's the law of the mirror. You get back what you put in. The big mistake of inconsistency often stems from our own people-pleasing tendencies. We don't want our children to be mad at us. But here is building block truth. Your child's job is to test the boundaries. Your job is to hold them. That's okay if they are mad. That's okay if they cry. In fact, if your child is never mad at you, you might not be doing your job as a parent. A healthy child should occasionally find their parents' boundaries frustrating. That means the boundaries are actually there. Loving your child involves being willing to be the bad guys in the moment for their long-term character. Recent scientific discoveries in brain plasticity show that childhood is the prime times for building the pathways for self-regulation. Every time you hold a consistent boundary, and the child has to manage their own frustration, you are literally building the muscle of their brain. You are helping them grow. When you give in to avoid the tantrum, you are atrophying that muscle. You are making them weaker. Respectful behavior is a form of executive function. It is the ability to prioritize the relationship and the rules over your own immediate impulses. By not making the big mistake, you are giving your child a massive cognitive advantage later in life. Think about the respectful child, whom everyone loves to have around. They aren't perfect, but they understand how to exist in a social structure. They are the children who get invited back to play dates, who teachers love to have in class, and who eventually become successful adults. This doesn't happen by accident. It happens because their parents were brave enough to be consistent. They were brave enough to say no and mean it. They were brave enough to let their child experience no as a final answer. The one-word direction technique is a great tool to avoid the mistake. Instead of nagging, "How many times do I have to tell you to put your backpack away?" It sets ruining the floor and someone is going to trip. You just point and say. It keeps it about the action, not the power struggle. It is efficient, respectful, and very hard to disrespect. It is a command and control approach that feels more like a gentle nudge. We also have to consider the sleep and hunger variables. Sometimes disrespect is just biology in disguise. A tired or hungry child has zero impulse control. While this doesn't excuse the behavior, it should change your strategy. Don't try to teach a lesson or hold a line on a complex issue when the child is hangry. Get them fed, get them rested, and then address the behavior. Being a wise leader means knowing when the troops are capable of following orders and when they just need a sandwich and a nap. Law explained. In the world of parenting, your word is your law. If the law is capricious and changes every 5 minutes, nobody follows it. If the law is absolute and fair, everyone respects it, even if they don't always like it. By being the legislator of your home who actually enforces the laws they write, you create a culture of legal respect. The children know exactly what to expect. There are no surprises, no traps, and no inconsistencies. This clarity is the ultimate gift of love. As your child grows into a teenager, the big mistake becomes even more dangerous. A disrespectful 6-year-old is a challenge. A disrespectful 16-year-old is a crisis. The patterns you set today are the foundation for the relationship you will have with your adult children. Do you want to be the parent who is still negotiating and warning a 25-year-old? Or do you want to be the parent who has a relationship built on mutual respect? The work starts now. Recent scientific discoveries in attachment theory show that the most secure attachments are formed with parents who are predictable. A predictable parent is a safe harbor. If you are inconsistent, you are unpredictable, which creates anxious attachment. The child becomes disrespectful as a way to test the connection, to see if you are still there. By being consistent, you are providing the security they crave. Respect is a byproduct of feeling secure in the parent's strength. It is the warnings, the counting, the negotiations, and the empty threats. It is the warning action gap, where the child learns that your voice is just background noise. By closing that gap, by meaning what you say and following through every single time, you transform the DNA of your household. You move from a state of constant power struggle to a state of calm leadership. The shift won't be easy. You will be tired. You will want to give in. But every time you hold the line, you are depositing into the account of your child's future. You are teaching them one of the most important lessons they will ever learn, that words have power, that boundaries are real, and that respect is the key to all human connection. You are building a culture of respect that will last long after the toys are gone and the shoes finally fit. So, the next time you find yourself about to say 2.5, stop. Take a breath. Walk over to your child. Look them in the eye. And provide the follow-through. Be the leader they are looking for. Be the parent who means what they say. Your child doesn't need a negotiator. They need a rock. Be that rock. The disrespect will fade. The connection will deepen. And you will find that parenting becomes the rewarding, wonderful journey it was always meant to be. Thank you for being part of this parenting deep dive. Your willingness to look at your own mistakes and make a change is the greatest gift you can give your children. Respect isn't something you demand. It's something you cultivate through the tiny, consistent actions of every single day. Start today, mean what you say, and watch your family transform from the inside out. You've got this. The road to a respectful home starts with your next no. Make it count. As we move forward into a world with more distractions and more permissive pressure, these old-school values of consistency and word is law become even more critical. They are the compass in a world of behavioral noise. Keep your compass true, keep your voice calm, and keep your boundaries solid. Your children will thank you for it in 20 years. Even if they aren't thanking you today. Respect is the long game. Play it well. Make sure to notice the good when they listen the first time. Say, "Thank you for listening." The first time it makes things so much easier. Positive reinforcement of the new culture is just as important as holding the line on the old one. Build the bridge of respect from both sides. Before you know it, you won't be a parent who is yelling. You'll just be a parent who is living, and that is the ultimate victory for any family. Stay strong, stay consistent, and enjoy the peace that follows. See you in the next one.